If this man was an American, 16 movies would have been made about him already. Yes, that's how enticing his life was. From nearly facing execution to becoming the messiah of his people and taking drastic measures to ensure the prosperity of Ghana. His striking looks, piercing eyes, built like a Greek god. These are just few words I can use to describe Flight Lieutenant John Rawlings, born of a Scottish father and a Ghanaian mother on the 22nd of June 1947. JJ's impact in Ghana and on Ghanaians is something that will never be undermined and never show. The title of this video is no exaggeration at all, and in this video essay, I'll go over the impact he had on Ghana and why he was so beloved. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
But my dear, what we need to do in this country is to establish a situation where even if it was the devil who should come and sit on top of us in Ghana, by virtue of certain procedures, certain practices, the devil cannot get away with doing whatever he wants. He would necessarily have to do what the people expect of him.
Growing up, young Rawlings wanted to become a pilot. His mom Victoria despised this career path to the extent of scolding him anytime he brings up that idea. Young Brazilian Rawlings never let go of his dreams. He knew what he wanted and went after it. He began his training as pilot officer in March of 1968 after completing Achimota School. In January of 1969, he graduated and was commissioned as a pilot officer. He was so exceptional and skillful that he went on to win the Speedbird Trophy, a trophy which was only bestowed upon the best students in the cadet flight training school. In April of 1978, he finally earned the rank as flight lieutenant.
I'm just an ordinary, hungry, screaming Ghanaian who wants to realize his creative potential, who wants to contribute.
The SMC, which stood for Supreme Military Council, was the ruling government of Ghana from October 9, 1975 to June 4, 1979. Before the SMC came into being, Ghana was experiencing several coups d'etats. A coup d'etat is an illegal seizure, a removal of a government and its powers. First one to experience the coup was Dr. Kuabina back in 1966, and also Buzia in 1972 by General Ignatius Kutu Echampo. The SMC period in government could be divided into two eras, SMC1 and SMC2. SMC1 had General Ignatius Echampo as the chairman, which also meant that he was head of state of government. His time as head of state of government was between October 9, 1975 to July 5, 1978. During his regime, he had a bad publicity on Ghanaians and was known for his many girlfriends. Embezzlement and corruption was the order of the day. Most of the things he promised when he overtook Buzia were more or less of the things of the past and things he said to gain sympathy from Ghanaians. Many soldiers felt that the reputation of the military was being tarnished by politics and that the military had to return back to the barracks. SMC2 had General Frederick William Kwesi Akufo as the chairman after a palace coup was executed against General Ignatius Echampo. On 5th July 1978, it was announced to the public that Echampo had resigned as chairman of the SMC. General Akufo promised Ghanaians that the military would step aside from government and ensure the successive growth of the country. But it was more or less like the same thing repeating itself. Promises were made, but actions were different.
A coup will not succeed if the atmosphere, the climate is not calling for it.
In 1979, the SMC2 was still in power. It seemed they had cold feet about some promises they made to the public. Lower ranks in the army also felt disillusioned about pay and were convinced that the resources meant for them were being siphoned by the corrupt senior officers. During this time, some junior officers started conspiring against the SMC, but no one was really bold enough to take a step against them. A young junior officer who was known as Flight Lieutenant John Rawlings took the bold step and started a coup against the SMC on May 15, 1979. But sadly, JJ and his men didn't succeed in their plan. General Akufo made JJ's prosecution a public one, so it would deter others from ever trying to overtake the SMC. But however, the plan totally backfired. JJ took the blame for everything and pleaded with the judges to leave his men out of this.
That I don't understand these terms and all that's going on, neither do my boys. And I'm just here, and I'm taking responsibility for everything that's happened.
The public prosecutor during the trial was G.E.K. Akins. His remarks were critical of military rule in Ghana and also painted Rawlings as an idealist motivated by nationalism and a concern for the poor. This gave Rawlings positive publicity both in the army and around the general public. Ghanaians fell in love with this young junior officer overnight.
We started screaming, JJ, JJ.
June 4th, 1979 is an iconic year in the history of Ghana, and the reason why is quite astonishing. There were a lot of coups which had happened in Ghana, but the June 4th, 1979 coup was the coup that changed Ghana forever. A group of young officers staged a bloody coup on June 3rd, 1979 and broke JJ out of jail. He personally didn't know about the plan some of his colleagues made, but however, due to his charisma and leadership skills and his newfound fame with the public, he was casted to be the face of the movement. As the coup was going on, the public didn't know the leader who was taking out the SMC until they heard JJ's voice on the radio at 6 a.m. on June 4th, 1979.
The people of Ghana have endured hunger for far too long. There is not one single worker who could make ends meet, and the miracle is that the people have been able to endure this for so long. When one attains the highest office of state, one should learn to serve the people and not lord it over them, and be prepared at all times to account for their stewardship.
The AFRC, which stood for Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, was formed after this, was made up of junior officers and other ranks who helped take out the SMC out of government. On the 26th of that same month, 8 people, including some former head of states who were known for corruptions, were executed by firing squad, putting a permanent end to the SMC. On September 24th, 1979, the AFRC handed power over to Hila Liman.
The Revolutionary Council, during our short stay in power, have demonstrated openly what many people had only suspected before, namely, that the holding of office in government in this country had in almost all cases been used to plunder the wealth of the nation. Ghana is looking up to you. Thank you.
Africa can work. It is up to the rest of the world to look beyond the prejudiced and sensational images and recognize Africa as the continent of the future.